Is this thing on? I believe it's on. What's happening, everybody? Doing a little bit of a rare Sunday live show, mainly because went to the drag strip today. Wanted to visit with you guys. If y'all had any questions about the car setup, if you had any questions about conditions or anything like that, want to talk about how the car ran. Also want to talk about some of the challenges that were actually everybody was faced with today. So really cool opportunity to get out to a track rental. If you haven't ever had a chance to do this, it can be a little bit pricey, but the fact of the matter is when you have the track all to yourself with a lot of guys that are pretty good at what they do in terms of just getting a car down a drag strip, it can be a lot of fun, and it's definitely worth it, especially if you're trying to shake down a particular setup, working on tunes, what have you. It's a really good opportunity to get out there and have a good time. Well, today was a really good day to be out on the drag strip. Density altitude was ranging from negative 1200 to about negative 150-ish, depending on which density altitude calculator that you would look at. But interestingly enough, throughout the course of the day, the car got faster as the density altitude got worse. And basically, negative 1200 density altitude yielded one of the slower times of the day. And you might say, well, why would that be? Well, it had nothing to do with the data. The data looked flawless. As a matter of fact, the data was really about as pretty as you could hope for. And the big takeaway here is that it was the humidity. So as the day went along, the humidity was dropping. But because the humidity was so high in the morning that even with a high barometric pressure, which a lot of that had to do with water vapor, and a low density altitude, there was no way the car was going to make the right amount of power to get it to run a number that I was hunting. And everybody was dealing with the same thing. And everybody was lamenting the fact that, God, we got this really low DA, but cars just aren't going very fast. Why is that? And I'm looking at my time slip and I'm going, look at the humidity. I think it started out at 93% or something like that. It was obnoxious. Hey, Jay Masters in. What's up, man? Say what up, B. Been a while since I've caught you live. Hope all is well. All is well. Hope all is well with you too, my friend. But yeah, it was just so humid that even with the very low DA, cars weren't going to go anywhere. So at least not per what you would think the cars would run with that low density altitude. So as the day went on, the humidity started dropping. Even though I started running the car, really the car didn't wake up until the density altitude was like in the negative 500 range. But even then, the humidity was still high enough to where it was holding the car back. Towards the end of the day, and really at the hottest part of the day, the car in negative 170 foot density altitude went a 1015. Now, that's kind of important. And I'll explain to you guys the reason why that's kind of important. I let the car sit for a minute and I thought, man, I probably should make one last hit before I get out of here. And I'm looking at the humidity number and I got to thinking, if it goes up 1 point, I'm putting the car right back on the drag strip and that's it. That's going to be the last pass. Sure enough, when everything refreshed in the system, the humidity went up 1 point and the density altitude dropped, and it dropped about 50 feet. Now, 50 feet isn't anything in density altitude. In fact, most guys will consider 200 feet, 300 feet above zero and 200 to 300 feet below zero. That's kind of your range for a zero density altitude, depending on who you talk to. But a lot of guys just kind of give it a range. But that's what happened. It went from 185, let's say, to 191 negative and then it was negative, I think 250 or something like that. And I thought, okay, listen, I'm going to put this thing back on the drag strip. Keeping in mind that I had been running in negative 5, 6, 7, 800 foot density altitude all day. Car rips off. I still can't believe the thing ran this number. It dropped a 1013 today at just this side of 136 miles an hour, if I remember correctly. By the way, the car is 1122 on HRP slips. At least it was today. Brought back the old school number for this track rental. But where I'm going with this is that the car went the fastest in the worst, and I use that in relative terms. It went the fastest in its worst density altitude. So it's not always about density altitude. It's the total atmospheric conditions. And in this case, the dry air was way better than having low DA. Let me check with you guys real quick. Clay's in saying, what's going on, B? What's going on, Clay? You're talking about Ram needs to make a small electric car or a hybrid compact. Bring back the small pickups. You know, I'll tell you something. I have been kind of at odds with Dodge over the fact that they have never put out a small car. Like, they had the Dart, but they never had anything that picked up sales like the Neon, for example. Anyway, you got to have small cars or you won't really, you got to. It's just what you need to sell to keep the lights on, if you will. Anyway, yeah, so had a lot of fun at the track today. Again, the car ran a number that I was real excited to see. And that was a 1015 and a 1013 in density altitude that's within the range. And again, what that means is that like within 200 to 300 feet above or below zero. And that will kind of tell you where the car is in terms of what you could possibly expect with seriously good air with low humidity and low temperatures. So hoping to run the car in some just killer DA here in the next couple of months is what we're kind of banking on. January and February down here are known for having unbelievably good air, provided that you can duck some of the humidity. And that's kind of the big part of this is, you know, is the humidity killed the morning. And basically it really was just a waste of gas, except I was able to collect data. And that was really the point. I wanted to collect 2 or 3 hits early on, see how the car was going to run, see what the data was going to look like. If it looked good, I was just going to button up that and we were just going to send it all day. And that's what I did. And the car did great. The car was back halfing stronger than anticipated. And I say that only to kind of illustrate the point that that car is typically really strong out of the hole. And all day today, it was just a little bit soft. And again, it didn't really start coming into its own until later in the day when that humidity dropped. But I knew something wasn't right when the 60 foots were in like the high 140 range. And that car in super deep DA should be a 147, 148 car all day long. And it wasn't. It was like 149, 150. And in this game, that 149 or 150, it's a 100th of a second. And you think that you don't notice a 100th of a second, but you get to this level and you actually will start picking apart hundredths of a second, which is kind of funny. Fred was saying, what's popping, B? What's happening, man? Got the shades and the flex. I just talking about today's track rental, man. That's the main thing. Doing a recap. So if you guys have any questions about the setup on the car, now's the time to ask. Like I say, I just got back. She's in the garage. I got to nut and bolt the thing. Probably always put the car on ramps at some point after I go to the drag strip and just go over the whole thing, make sure everything is good, make sure everything is, nothing's loose. The cars get hit pretty hard with a lot of load. You just want to make sure that everything is the way it should be. So I'll probably be doing that tomorrow at some point, just to give the car a good once over. But I don't know, really getting back to what I was saying. So I knew that something wasn't exactly right when the car wasn't 60 footing the way that it should for the DA. And after a few passes, I had looked at the data, and I saw the data look really, really, really good. And I thought, man, there's no way there's anything wrong with a car. This is an atmospheric thing. And then that's when we started talking to some other guys, and they're going, yeah, we're not covering it. I just happened to look at the time slip that's got the density, altitude, and the humidity on there. I was like, oh, here you go. This is why. But anyway, to say that the car will run deep into a number, deep into the teens, in density altitude that's within the noise of like a zero altitude, like how would you correct a 1013 at 225 foot density altitude or 250 DA? You see what I'm saying? So it's not, when you do the correction, it's going to be like maybe a 1014, low 1014, right? So anyway, this is a racer thing, by the way. A lot of guys really get into the number that cars run, and I'm definitely one of those guys. And so, just being able to talk about this with some folks, some guys like the nerd part of it. So I just want to give that to you now. Now, as far as how the car was running, man, I'll tell you what, I thought the car jerked the tires off the ground 2 or 3 hits out of today. It was coming out of the hole hard. So again, it's just one of those kind of a fun day at the track type of thing. But to be able to end it by running that kind of a number was really cool. So let me check in with you guys real quick. J Master said, due to his local track is a 6-1 swapped Shadow. Sweet. Oh, Daycap said, I would love to see one of those Shadows with the spoiler and body kit. Now, what was it? The Shadow, the ES, right? That was an ES platform. I really like those cars. Sam saying Mustang GT versus Charger RT. Built both with the same tech. Price difference was about $800. Is it worth it for 2 extra doors? 2 completely different cars, man. 2 completely. You can't really even compare the 2. If you want, if you want a 4-door, then yeah, you only got one choice there. If it's going to be a daily, I'd get the 4-door. I'd get the Charger. Clay's talking about the Aries for sale, mint condition. So a lot of people laugh that the mid 80s front wheel drive cars are coming back in a major way, by the way, guys, in terms of popularity. Sam saying either way, it's going to get Flowmasters or glass packs. Let her rip. Alex saying, what up, Mr. B? What up, Alex? Got the flex. I like it. So let's see what else. Okay. So the setup on the car, running DBRs in the back, Sportsman SRs up front. I tried to keep pressure around 22 PSI today. Between 22 and 23 PSI was kind of the sweet spot for the DBRs. One thing I will say is my car does not like hot laps. So there's that. And the other thing is that I had one hit. There's always that one hit. Every racer has got the fish story of the day. But I had one hit where it spun on the hit. And it spun just enough to rotate the tires a couple of times as it was coming out of the hole. And then it bit. That pass had all the trappings of a low 1010, like a 1011, 1013, something like that. If it just wouldn't have spun, it's one of those deals. But that was part of the day too. But for the most part, except for that one pass, and I think that had more to do with track prep than anything else. The car was dead hooking all day. Hoosier DBRs, you gotta love them. They will dead hook on a dirt road. If those tires break loose, it's not because of the tire, it's because of the track. So, again, can't say enough good things about that tire in general. It just real stable, all good. Let's see. Sam saying just talk to a man who's been dailing a K-Wagon. K-Wagons will last forever. But yeah, there was a lot of really fast stuff there today. Really fast NA Coyote car. Really cool twin turbo Mustang was there. A lot of neat cars floating around out there. So, enjoyed it, but really happy that the car ran the number. That 1013 was almost 130. What did it run? Let me see here. Let me look up my time slip. Make this real easy. Yeah, almost 136 miles an hour. I don't know if you can see that. You see it kind of at an angle. There you go. 1013 with an 8, but it's still a 1013. So anyway, I'll take it. 650 in the 8th, by the way, for you guys that are keeping up with that, at almost 108 miles an hour, 107.84. 148 60 foot. And it wasn't like I was racing anybody, but I was kind of antsy on that hit. And I was actually trying to run a number with that 049 reaction time. I was just, every once in a while, I'll when I'm at the track, I'll just start chopping down the tree. So anyway, that's that pass right there. And this is that 1015. Here's that 1015 pass, if y'all can see that. And that was at 135.56. Overall, I'm pretty happy with, like I say, the way the car ran. Ran a 1018 at negative 184. 1015 at negative 191. And then negative 1013, negative 216. And the humidity kicked up 1 point, and that's the one I was showing you guys where I just ran it out there. So, but with that, guys, I just wanted to jump on real quick, do a quick recap for y'all. Wanted to touch base. I will be back on my normal, regular live show schedule starting on Monday. Well, I guess Tuesday, really. But anyway, I got to jump back over here, start getting the car cleaned up, and I kind of get the nut and bolting process started. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Listen, y'all have a great week, and we will catch y'all on the next one. That's a wrap. Adios.